The Middle East is not only burning from bombs, but from the silent power struggle of three major powers testing each other. When the United States and Israel struck Iran, the biggest question was not just who was hit, but who stood to gain. That matters right now because every shockwave in the Middle East can tilt the balance of power far beyond the region. For many analysts, crises in this region have almost never remained local wars with purely local consequences. Each time the Middle East falls into disorder, outside powers immediately adjust their strategies to defend their own interests. So the tension between the United States, Israel, and Iran also opens a strategic contest between Washington, Moscow, and Beijing. In that picture, China is the most cautious player, avoiding almost any signal that it is openly siding with Tehran. That restraint reflects a clear reality. China's core interest in the Middle East is not alliance politics, but energy security. Over the past 2 decades, China's economy has become increasingly dependent on imported oil moving through highly sensitive transport routes. If those energy flows are disrupted for long, China's production costs, transportation systems, and economic growth could all face serious pressure. That is why Beijing's first priority is not entering a geopolitical showdown, but keeping the energy market from breaking apart. For that reason, many experts believe the chance of China intervening to save Iran in a wider war remains quite low. One important reason is that Beijing's confidence in Iran's real strategic strength has weakened in recent years. Although Iran is often portrayed as a regional power, many scholars argue that much of its influence depends on proxy networks. And once Beijing begins to question Tehran's value, China's entire strategic calculation in the Middle East starts to shift. China also has another major constraint. Its expanding ties with the Arab Gulf states now carry enormous economic value. In recent years, Beijing has deepened trade, infrastructure, and investment cooperation with Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and other partners. Those countries are not only major energy suppliers, but also key pillars in China's broader commercial strategy across the region. Openly leaning toward Iran in a regional war could damage the economic network China has spent years carefully building. Beijing must also avoid a direct confrontation with Washington at a time when rivalry already spans trade, technology, and security. From that perspective, China gains very little by turning itself into a direct participant in a war with uncertain outcomes. That is why many observers describe Beijing's posture as a form of geopolitical pragmatism rather than ideological loyalty. China is not trying to protect one political regime at all costs. It is trying to preserve stability in energy markets. In simple terms, what Beijing wants to defend is not an ally, but the oil flows that help sustain its economic engine. While China remains a careful observer, Russia can see several short-term opportunities emerging from the same crisis. The most immediate effect of Middle East tension is usually a rise in oil and gas prices whenever supply disruptions seem possible. For a major energy exporter like Russia, that kind of price surge can translate into badly needed revenue for the state budget. The crisis may also create a strategic opening by shifting international attention away from the war in Ukraine. That shift may not transform the battlefield directly, but it can influence Western political priorities, resources, and diplomatic focus. And if Washington is forced to spend more time and capacity on the Middle East, Moscow may find new room to maneuver elsewhere. But Russia's possible gains also come with a serious long-term risk. It could lose one of its most important strategic partners, Iran. Over the years, Iran has played a meaningful role in Russia's wider security network, especially under mounting pressure from the West. Their relationship has deepened through military cooperation, regional coordination, and shared resistance to Western influence. Iran has reportedly supplied Russia with military technologies, including drones that became highly relevant in the war in Ukraine. In return, Moscow has served as a crucial diplomatic partner for Tehran in major international forums and power negotiations. If Iran's internal power structure weakens or its regime changes direction, Russia could lose a valuable pillar in its strategic architecture. That loss would extend beyond bilateral ties, because it could also weaken the broader anti-Western alignment both countries helped reinforce. For years, Russia, Iran, and other states have supported a more multipolar order designed to dilute Western dominance. If Iran becomes unstable or strategically reorients, that wider geopolitical structure could begin to fracture. In that scenario, Moscow might gain short-term revenue, but face a less favorable strategic environment over the longer horizon. Another possible outcome is that the United States secures a broader strategic victory by reasserting its role in the Middle East. If military and political pressure successfully limits Iran's regional ambitions, Washington could reassure allies and restore lost credibility. A weakened Iran could allow the United States to present itself once again as the central security guarantor in the region. China, meanwhile, may emerge as the quiet long-term beneficiary by avoiding war while preserving trade, energy access, and economic influence. And while great powers calculate gains, the heaviest price is still paid by the people and states trapped inside the conflict itself.